Hey guys, welcome to Code Decode. In this video, we are going to look into a very important microservices design pattern interview question, that is CQRS design pattern. Now, this cannot be directly asked like why did you use CQRS or what is CQRS? You might not be asked that directly. It might be asked that if your system is read heavy and the writes are not that much into the system, which design pattern will you implement? So, to understand CQRS, exactly what it is and in depth is very important. So let's see first in the simple terms what is CQRS, and then let's deep dive into what tricky questions can be asked for CQRS design patterns. So let's get started and see what is command and query responsibility segregation design pattern. So CQRS is an architectural design pattern that separates the read from the write operations. Now, when we were starting with the Spring Boot, we had created a CRUD application. The CRUD stands for create, read, update, and delete. So, four things are done in one single application. And that is the same database, same model, everything, same application, everything is done in the same place. Then, what happens is that the read operations, that is the query or the R of the CRUD, is done along with the C, U, and D, that is create, update, and delete. This create, update, delete modifies the table while the query only reads the tables or the databases. So I can segregate this into two parts where I can do the create, update, and delete in one microservice and read in another microservice. Now you will ask me why? Why to do that? Why to make it so complicated? And why are you just taking read out of it? Why not create, update, and delete? Reason being, I'm just segregating on the basis of whether we are reading the database or we are writing to the database. It might not sound sensible, but as soon as we go into this reasons why read database is very different in structure from the write databases, basically the SQL no SQL difference, you will understand why I'm saying so. So let's see and deep dive into it. So this a segregation of read and write helps you optimize the performance, scalability, and security in distributed systems. Too much of theory. Let's first understand why CQRS came into picture at all. So as discussed, the traditional CRUD used to have everything in the same model and database for both read and write. This leads to various challenges. The first is scalability issue. Now what is scalability? It is the capability to scale or increase the number of pods whenever there is more number of requests coming in. Now you can have two important types of requests coming, to modify the data or to read the data. When you have a very heavy read traffic, basically when an e-commerce website is there that you're hosting, in that you need to get the product details. So what all you get is product, its category, its reviews, its inventory, everything you have to have before showcasing it to the users. So that why inventory? Because if you are expecting the 10 quantities to be ordered but the stock is only for the 5, then you should not be able to allow the user to do that. So for all these reasons, you have to read so much, right? And while reading so much, you have to have multiple complex joins. For example, you might have multiple tables from which you read. For example, you have product tables, category table, review table, inventory table. So you have to put a join where product ID is this, where item is electronics, category is electronics, review is this is what the people have reviewed to, and fetch the inventory for this particular product, which is an electronic product, which is an which is a mobile. So in that situation, you have to have so much of multiple table joins, which reduces the performance. So when there is a read heavy system, the request bombarding to your pod is very high for reading while compared to the write, because the product description rarely changes. The product category will never change. So write is very less in the probability than read. So scalability becomes an issue. Reason being, when you are reading from the table, the query, the long running queries will usually take the lock and can prevent timely update to the data, because you are reading so much with the complex joins that during the read, when you're joining multiple tables, if you try to update it, you might get some dirty data. So for that reason, many databases puts a lock while you are joining and doing the complex queries. So this reduces the performance, because if the database is logged, your write is getting delayed, your user will be waiting out there. Secondly, most of the indexes are for the read queries. so that since you index your data, you will read quickly. That means for the read request, you will use the heavy indexes. You have heavier usage of the indexes. But when it comes to the write operations, each write can also modify your index, and hence you cannot write until you get the lock on the index table also, which again slows down the read and update which also slows down the write and update operations. So index overhead is also a problem. Database lock is also a problem. So here the lock was on the table while reading, here the lock is on the index table when you are reading. They are two different things, but quite similar in the terms of locks. The third is the IO and the memory contention. Now, read and write both competes for CPU, RAM and IO. This is comparatively too much towards hardware, but frequent read increases the buffer pool size, leaving fewer resources for write. So that's why with all these 3 points, we understood that when it's a read heavy system, read tries to take everything, be it log, be it indexes, be it consumptions of the IO resources. Then write gets less of resources, and hence even a small write you have to wait very long just because read requests are so many. So it's a wise idea to segregate your read and write, so that read can directly quickly read from their own databases, write can do it on its own. And how will they interact with each other? They can do it by the event sourcing, basically using Kafka. So whenever you get some write request, you can have two options. You have your own database, or you can have your same common database for reads and writes. We will see that also.
Hey guys, recently we have launched a course covering an end-to-end full stack application using Angular as front end and microservices and Spring Boot as the back end. Also, we have used Cloud to deploy this application, and we have used CI/CD, that is Jenkins and Argo CD, for continuous integration and continuous deployment. The technologies that we have used is REST, RESTful web services, Spring Boot and microservices for backend, Angular for front end. GitHub we have used for version control system. Also, to make the code unit testable, we have used JUnits. We have used Sonar for code quality checks. Also, for containerization, we have used Docker and Kubernetes. And to deploy this whole application, we have used AWS and multiple services from AWS. Also, we have used SQL as well as NoSQL, that is MongoDB and SQL. On AWS, since for the SQL we have RDS, we have used those services, and Jenkins and Argo CD for CI/CD pipeline. Also, this is an architecture of the application that we have created where the front end is Angular and the back end is microservices. We have used ALB load balancers, Ingress for routing and load balancing. And we have used SQL and MongoDB for SQL and NoSQL DB management with Eureka Server and all those microservices counterparts. Now, this is the CI/CD pipeline. This is the CI/CD flowchart for the application that we have created on local. So this is something, a flow when you create an application in local, push it to GitHub, create a Jenkins pipeline, and do the CI/CD using Jenkins and Argo CD. And at the end, deploy the whole code at AWS EKS. Complete description of this course is covered in a very separate video. The link for that video is also given in the description bar below. And also the link to purchase that course from Udemy is also in the description bar below. So please go and check the description for all these links.
Now, a very important distinguish between the read operations and the write operations. And that's why we have to segregate them. The read operations requires the denormalized data. Why? We have already seen that. Reason being, suppose in the product catalog for the e-commerce system, when you're trying to fetch the product details, like its name, its descriptions, its category, its price, its reviews, its stock, its inventory, you have to get so much data. So rather than querying multiple tables with multiple joins, inner joins, it will be much better if you use the NoSQL query with the denormalized data, where everything is in a single read model. So you can create something like product details view table, which pre-aggregates the data from multiple tables into the single view. And that is the best for the fast access. But this is a problem. There's a problem. I mean, how good it is, right? Everything is in one single, with order ID, you will get everything. All the product details, its inventory details, its description, everything is there in one single hit to the database. But it creates a problem. The same data is repeated multiple times. For example, I have ordered electronic in one of the order ID. The another user came and placed another order with for the same product. Now same product, product description, product quantity, stock, everything is repeated at multiple places. And whenever I have to change at one place, change has to be done in all the places. For example, I have also placed an order for the mobile, OnePlus mobile. He has also placed an order for the OnePlus mobile. But now the description of that changes from XYZ to XYZ Pro Max. Then I have to change it in all the places. Otherwise, the data will be inconsistent, will not be consistent across. So for that reason, denormalizes gives you two problems: the data redundancy and data inconsistency. Secondly, when it comes to the write, you need strong consistency and integrity. Why? So that you avoid these issues, redundancy and inconsistency. Because in read it is sometimes fine. You might read the data about the order ID, you can get the data, product details, and sometimes it is not updated, which is fine, but your order is at least showing what you actually ordered for. But when it comes to write, it is very important. Reason being, for example, you are creating an order, and then while creating an order, that is a right request to the system, it has to validate whether product exists or not, whether the price is correct or not, or if there is enough stock or not. Otherwise, what will happen? If there are data inconsistency, that is, at one place it is written as I have 10 stock, and another suppose an order is placed and the stock reduced to 5 item, you checked out at the end during payment or during the order processing, you see that, oh sorry, you cannot place the order for 10 because 5 is already taken by another person. And there was because of eventual consistency or not the strong consistency, you were not able to get the exact stock there. That creates a very bad user experience. So always when there is a write to a system, it should always be in a separate normalized table where there is a single source of truth. What is single source of truth? That means if inventory is updated at one place, it should be done at only one inventory table. It should not be done in the orders table, because if orders are going to have multiple stocks for the same product, if the same product is used by multiple different orders, you cannot search like which order is having P1 product, and in that product you cannot go and update the inventory to -2 because one order is placed. To prevent that overselling of the data or your product, you have to have this normalized data where there's a single source of truth or a single table where update is done. But there's again a problem with this normalized data because it is less efficient for querying, because if you maintain different data tables, then multiple complex join will lead to very bad performance. So for that reason, we understood that write should always be done in separate tables. Read should always be done from the same table, like this view table, where everything is pre-aggregated into view, so that whenever a person hits for a particular product, it will be able to get everything about that particular product in one single click and one single query to the table. It should not do multiple complex joins to get the data and keep the user waiting. So for that reason, we have to segregate our reads and writes. So how CQRS helps us? CQRS helps us by separating this read and write responsibility, thereby having us independently scale and optimize our read and write microservices. So if I have 100 requests coming for read and 1 request coming for write, it is sensible enough to have 20 pods for the query microservices and just 1 pod for the command microservice. So query microservice will read the data and command microservice will write the data. And then that 100 requests will be divided into 20 pods. So each pods will be having just 5 requests to be handled at one particular point of time, which increases a throughput, performance, and the user experience for the users. Now, what benefits we get? The read performance is increased because read model can be denormalized and can be done using the fast access. For the data integrity, for the write model, it ensures the strict consistency and validations so that your system is in the accurate state. Doing opposite in both ways will give you a very big trouble. If you read from the normalized, you have lots of queries, complex queries, which reduce the performance. If you use NoSQL or the denormalized data, here you will have this inventory at multiple places. Updating inventory at all the places will not be a possibility. And hence you will get an inaccurate stock inventory data if you use the write for the denormalized data. So hence, it is very important to have the NoSQL for read and SQL for write. Scalability is also very important because if you have higher read, then you can highly optimize your pods, increase vertically or horizontally your pods to have the independent scalability, while read can be only at the lower end. Now coming to the architecture of it, you have two separate microservices, the command microservice and the query microservice. You have two separate databases. Now this is completely optional. After this, I'm going to take you to the code base also. In that code base, I'll give you two options. You can write to the same database or you can write to the multiple different databases. A decision is up to you. I would always suggest to have the two separate databases. Now, and also by the end of video, we will see, do we really need to implement CQRS in every situation, or what is the exact situation when you should implement it and when you should not. So two separate databases, the write should always be in the SQL DB, read should always be in the NoSQL or View DB. Communication, how this read and write database will communicate with each other to be in sync, because suppose you write something and you read the old trivial data, then it will be the bad user experience saying that even though the data is updated, why is you still giving the stale data? So there is a way to communicate between read and write database. I'll show you here with the Kafka how we can do that. So usually you can use an event-driven approach using any topic or queue and sync your read and write models asynchronously, though they can be updated simultaneously, but I would always suggest to do it in an asynchronous way. Now how CQRS works, I'll show you that with an example first. So here you have a user who is going to create, update or delete, basically modify the product. So there is a command service who is capable enough to catch your commands for the data. It's nothing but an API which accepts these post request, delete request or update request. What it does is it gets the data, that what it has to change, then it publishes the event, and before that it validates everything. So I'll tell you that in the code also, that it validates whether this is a valid modification. You are not updating the stock to -2. You do all the kinds of validation, then only update in your own database and publish an event to Kafka that this mobile name has to be changed from XYZ to XYZ Pro Max. This event is then consumed by the query service, which then updates its own database, which is the source of truth for every user who is trying to fetch the detail about your mobile. So whenever there is a mobile search, the details will be responded only from the query service and not from the command service, because it is not the task of your command microservice to handle your queries that is coming up. So this is basically just an API which accepts the get endpoints, the get request. Then it returns the product details if it is found, or returns you phone not for if not found. So this is as simple as that. Also, CQRS is often used with event sourcing. Now you will ask me, what is event sourcing? Yes, we have not covered it. If you want me to cover the event sourcing, just let me know in the comment section. Then only I'll create a microservice design pattern, event sourcing interview question. Now, why is CQRS usually used with event sourcing? Because in event sourcing, we not just store the final outcome, we store each and every step. For example, this event is received that you have to update the product. So this event is updated into a separate table or the database where events are managed. Then this event is published to Kafka. So this event is also published there, that update request was coming into the system. We validated it, and now we are also publishing it to query because the validations are successful. Then this event is also added into the same table where query service has picked up the request and has updated the database with the new data. Why we do this? Because logging and auditing is very important for microservice to debug any issue. If any issue comes in which of the particular component, you will not be able to figure that out if you standalone use the CQRS design pattern. So for that reason, it always says that CQRS should always be used with the event sourcing. You might not be able to understand this fully because event sourcing we have not covered yet. If you want me to, just let me know in the comment section. Now there's too much of theory. Why? What is trade-off? When to use? What is the difference? First, let's understand with the code, okay? Now, this is the basic example where we use the same common database. That is, if you can see, there is a single order repository for both read and write. That means it is going to read and write to the same database. So, if that is the case, what happens is, this is an order service which handles the create order, update order, and cancel or the delete order. In all the cases, you validate the order, save it to your own repository, and after that, when you are done with the write in your database, you generate an event that the order is created. So this is an important, that is event type which is created. In the update also, the event type is updated, but before that it validates, save it in the repository, then only it sends a new order event. Third is the cancel. Again, the order type becomes the cancelled, where the order types are created, updated, and cancelled. Here also, it first find out whether it is already there. It sets the status as cancelled. This is not the hard delete about the order. Your order detail will still be there, but since you've cancelled it or deleted it, it is not the hard delete. It is just the setting the flag or the status as cancelled. It is still there in the repository, and that is the beauty of soft delete. Then it also publishes the event to the Kafka that the order is cancelled, so that whenever the user tries to get into see the past orders, it should see that this order was not delivered to him because it was in the cancelled state. So for reading, it has to add this in the event. If this is not done, only the database is updated, but the event does not reach the query model, which handles the event. Like if it is the update, then it tries to figure it out and save it in the repository, and similarly it will delete from the database. And search order, this is just the way to search your orders by find by ID or so with a particular criteria. So this is how you subscribe to that particular event and find out what kind of event is occurring, and then you can use a switch case. But this is not something I can always recommend. Reason being, here both of them use the same order repository, which might be updating the same database. So the best way is to segregate your SQL and NoSQL database. So for that example, you can use MySQL for JPA with JP for SQL queries, store the data in the registration database for the command microservice, and publish the event just like this. We used to send the Kafka template in send. You can do that also in the command service. For the query service, you can use MongoDB or any NoSQL DB. You have to subscribe to the event just like we have subscribed here, kafka.subscribe to that particular topic. Here also we can subscribe to that event, fetch the necessary order details, and add it to the NoSQL for faster retrieval. So the updated code remains thus, that the repository changed to order SQL, and here it changed to order Mongo repository. So either here it was order SQL repository. The Kafka still remains the same, topic still remains the same, create order still remains the same. It will validate, it will store it to SQL DB and places an order with the order status. Similarly goes with update, and similarly goes with the cancel. But all the things that remains the same is it is going to send an event to the Kafka topic, and the data is stored in the SQL repository. Finally, when it comes to the query service, microservice, it will still have the Kafka into it. It will still subscribe to it. It will listen to that particular topic, and whenever it reads to it, then it will save it in the NoSQL DB. And then you can use the find by criteria to save the, to find the order from the database, MongoDB. And this is how you can find by status, whether this ID, or you can find by ID also. So how it works? Command stores in MySQL, publishes the event to Kafka. The query microservice listens to the Kafka and store it in the MongoDB for faster retrieval. What benefits? Optimized writes, optimized reads, scalability can be different, and it gets completely decoupled because of different databases. If the code base is really clear, let's now go back to a bit of theory, because that might also be asked in interviews, like what is the trade-off and what are the benefits. So everything comes with a cost. If CQRS is able to give you independent scalability, a huge optimization, a good performance, the very fast retrievals, a very quick reads and writes, it is very flexible, it is very secured, and it has eventual consistency, there must be something wrong with this. So what are the trade-offs? Now this trade-off is eventual consistency is the trade-off. What does this mean? That means if you're writing something, it is given to Kafka, and Kafka is not a synchronous communication. That means it will be added to the topic, and whenever the runner runs and listens to it, it will fetch the event and will update the write. update the read table. And when you read it, there might be a chance that before Kafka reads the event and updates in the read database, you might read the old data. So dirty read is a very big problem with CQRS design patterns. It is when it is heavily read and even sometimes write is also frequent. Then in that case, you will be in trouble. Also, it increases the component, more components, because you have to have Kafka in between and you have to have the event handlers. Otherwise, a simple CRUD in the simple traditional application will be a one single microservice, one single database. Also, there is an overhead because you have to have the constant monitoring and handling of failures for the event-driven systems. So we know what is good, what is bad. Now, when to use what? So when should we use CQRS? It should be used only when there is a high imbalance between reads and writes. That means there is a very high probability of reading compared to very low chances of writes request coming to your application. For example, social media, e-commerce. Also, when you have to scale independently in the distributed microservice, also when there is a very complex query, when it comes to the read queries, and also the domain logic is very complex, which requires segregating your commands and queries. When it is a very simple application, chotu, small, very easygoing application, just to show the mobile bill to the users, a very simple use case, then a simple CRUD will also work for you. Also, when there is a financial or banking transactions which requires very strong consistency, for example, the payments, if it always requires very strong consistency, in that case, you should not ever use the CQRS design pattern. Otherwise, your reads will have the dirty read and your transactions may be failing in between because of eventual consistency. Now, what is the real world use case? This is very important. This is usually asked in interviews, like, why did you use CQRS in your system? So the first reason is that you should say that you have a very high reads and very low write to the system. And when is such a case? In an e-commerce website, when the order processing versus order history is a two different scenario. Also, product update and product display are two different scenarios. So our product read is very high because people usually surf or browse the products, but the sellers changing their products that they are selling on the marketplace is very less of a chance. So the e-commerce is the best use case for CQRS. Social media is also a very good place for CQRS implementation. Reason being, when you go to Instagram, you see multiple posts. So you retrieve feeds, that is read operation. But you write a post or update your daily status, that is very rare. You do once in a day. So retrieval of the feeds is continuous process, while write is only once a day. And this is a very good example for the CQRS. Similarly, we have multiple reasons when we can use it. The CQRS basically in microservices can be handled using microservices with data into transactional DBs. Query can be done using the NoMySQL DBs, and everything can be done in microservices using Kafkas. What is the difference between CQRS and traditional CRUD? The traditional CRUD is a same application and the same database. CQRS is a separate microservices with separate databases. The CRUD is very slow due to high read, and this is optimized for read and write balancing because they are two different microservices. So since it is single DB and since it is one single application, scalability of two different requests of read and write cannot be scaled independently, while in CQRS, since they are two different microservices, you can assign multiple pods for read, one single pod for write. So it's independently scalable. For consistency, traditional is a very strong consistency, which is a very big advantage of CRUD, and hence in the banking applications, we usually use the CRUD based application only. When it comes to CQRS, it is an eventual consistency. So use only and only when your update to the product description may not be available to the users as in when you update it. So that in that case, eventual consistency, and hence the marketplace is a good option for this. Complexity, it is very simple to implement. It is more complex because you have to understand first CQRS, also you have to implement the event sourcing, also you have to understand Kafka, also see how you can manage your fallbacks, your issues, your microservices issues, everything. So it's complex to handle. So use CQRS very crucially, very judiciously. It might be the case that your application is not a good reason where we can go for CQRS because it adds so much of complexity. So answer these tricky questions in a very balanced way. Also with this, I have a lot more to cover, that is scenario based questions. Like for an e-commerce website, there is a frequent check on the past order, but order update like cancellation or modifications are rare. So what do you use? Then you have multiple questions over this particular scenario. How would you ensure data consistency? How will you maintain the scale? How will you have the data mesh schemas? A lot of things are now asked into in such a tricky way for this CQRS and other microservices design patterns. So let me know if you want me to cover this scenario based questions also, then I'll cover for this in the next video. Thank you.